So I guess you could start by introducing yourself, saying who you are and what you do.
So I'm Ashley Peralta. I guess co-own Iz Liv Films. So Manny and I run it together. So I primarily do photography. Manny does videography.
Yeah.
We mostly shoot couples and weddings. And that's it, right? That's who I am. Yeah. Who I am. It's what we do.
I don't know. Do you have any other hobbies? No, I'm just kidding.
Some, yeah. But photography is the biggest one.
Yeah, for right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to crochet. I like to do DIY stuff. So there's nothing back here yet, but I'm in the process of planning to put shelves up. Nice. It's not something I'm super great at, so it takes a lot of time to design it, but I really enjoy, I've always loved doing work with my hands and woodworking stuff. And yeah, that's my other hobby, I would say.
That's really cool. I know a lot of moms that are into DIY, and it becomes really useful because you can save a lot of money that way.
Yeah, for sure.
So how did you get into photography in the first place?
So I got into photography because of Manny. So I never I did hair for 5 years. I worked in a salon. And so I've always been a little bit creative, but never with photography. So he started building his own thing on the side. We were both working our own jobs. He started doing photography, videography on the side.
Yeah.
And eventually it just got to a point where he couldn't handle it. So on his own.
Right.
Too busy. There's too much going on. So he booked a wedding that was for photo and video. And he's like, all right, well, now you got to learn photography.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He basically just threw you in the water with the fish.
Oh yeah. Introduction by fire. But it's great. It's so funny because I didn't even edit my own photos until 2019. And I started towards the end of 2019, and I started in the beginning of 2018. Wow. So for a good almost 2 years, I wasn't even editing. And then end of 2019. Yeah.
I envy you.
Yes and no, because as I was learning, there was a lot of hey, next time look at this. Hey, next time look at that. Hey, next time look at that. And then when I started editing it myself, I was able to see firsthand how much harder it makes editing when you don't get it right in camera.
Oh yeah.
And so it opened up a whole new world for me. And once I started editing, my skills improved super fast because I'm well, I don't want to make that mistake again. That took way too much time.
Right. Oh, I hate that.
Yeah. And then at that point, I really started growing in my skills.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So you ditched the shears and the comb and switched to a camera and flash. That's crazy.
Yeah. And even before I picked up photography, I knew I wanted to get out of the salon, cosmetology, barber kind of industry because it just I didn't enjoy it. It did not go well with my personality. And I learned a lot from it. But from there, I went and I worked at a bakery for a while, and then I worked managing an e-commerce website. And so I had my hands in a lot of different things until photography was oh, okay, Manny built it to the point where it's a feasible business, and then we kind of dove in head first.
Wow, that's incredible. So man, I'm just trying to take that all in and process it. That's really amazing. So you were doing hair, but you weren't passionate about hair. You were not in the field. You felt you were this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, for how many years?
Exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha.
It was more of just a means to an end,
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of jobs out there that I've done that is just just to make money and get by.
And sometimes that's the way it is. Sometimes you just got to power through it.
Well, how was it learning photography, going from having no experience initially, being a novice, and then eventually honing your craft so much to the point where you are now photographing weddings?
It was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
It was a whirlwind. There was so much to learn, like on a skill level, and then also on like a client interaction level as well.
I'm sure.
Because it's one thing to be able to have your settings right in your camera, but then it's like a whole nother thing entirely to be able to get the emotion and like the connection and the feelings like in that photograph to shine through. And so that was honestly just a lot of trial and error. We did a lot of free sessions. We did a lot of we still do free sessions so that we can play around. It's like never stopping learning, because every single time I do a session and I edit it, I'm like, okay, next time I need to do this. Next time, let's tweak this, that, whatever. And so it started off small, just working with couples and doing anniversary sessions or engagement sessions or things like that. And then it just grew.
I love it. So that had to be like a major transition and challenge for you to overcome. And I also appreciate the fact that you said it was an adjustment learning how to deal with clients, because I hear a lot of people, creative people, say, oh, I'm going to learn photography, or I'm going to, create art because I don't have to deal with people. But I laugh at that, because no matter what we do, we're always going to have to deal with people no matter what. There's always going to be that human interaction. So if you don't learn it now, it's still going to come back at you in another arena. So I appreciate you mentioned that, and instead of just learning the camera settings, because it encompasses all of it. How was it photographing your first wedding ever?
All right, so the very first wedding we ever did was video only. And it was so crazy because we charged them, it was like $300 for like 15 hours or something crazy like that. And it was really cool. We actually, the first wedding we ever did was, they're our best friends now.
Wow.
And it was so cool. They were completely fine with them being our first wedding. They just loved the style of video, the more highlight, the more like quick cuts that Manny does.
Yeah.
And so for that, it was just, I was a second camera. Wow. And just got everything. And that was it. Because we were video only, we didn't really, like when we do photography only, or when we do both photo and video, now we'll go in and we'll craft a timeline on what's going to be best for photo and video. But when we're video only, we kind of follow the lead of the photographer. So it was, honestly, it wasn't super difficult. About eight or 10 months after our first wedding, we had our second wedding. And then that one was my first time taking lead on photo. Wow. So it was definitely nerve-wracking. And I would say early on in our like career with shooting weddings, I did a lot of following Manny's lead. So he would set up the scene, he would give the direction, and then I would just follow behind him and be like, okay, we're taking pictures of this, that, whatever. And then my focus early on was just on making sure I get the picture and I get it good and it's in focus and it's clear and it's,
the basics.
Good. Yeah, just the basics. And then now that we've been doing it more and more, we've kind of like swapped roles. So I will take lead on wedding days and I direct and I set everything up. And then Manny is the one who's just, like he'll give his own direction when he needs something specific for the video. But I'm the one who does all the talking on wedding days mostly. Wow. Yeah. So we've reversed our roles there.
That's funny. And that transitions nicely into my next question, which is, I know that Manny has recently, diverted most of his attention to video now, mainly focusing on video on the side of the business. So how is it for you being more of like the CEO or like the main one in charge of the photography business side of things now?
We Manny for a while was working on doing like commercial style videos or like, you know, content creation, social media style videos for, you know, like local businesses or companies, whatever. And he recently has decided to take a step back from that and just do his own like little passion projects. And then we both focus primarily on the weddings. So it's been great. I love client communication. Honestly, I love timeline planning because I like things to be structured, and I like to know what we're capturing, when we're capturing it on a wedding day, so that no one is freaking out and no one is panicking on a wedding day.
Right. Which is always good to not have to panic.
Really good. And I mean, I've worked with other photographers who take a much more chill, like relaxed approach. And I love that as well. Like I do want to incorporate more of a relaxed approach into my style of shooting and like how we work on a wedding day, because there's a lot of good in that as well. And being able to let moments happen naturally and taking a step back and just documenting what's there instead of trying to craft everything. So it's a delicate balance. Manny, since he's taken a step back from his Manny Peralta stuff, the more commercial side of things, it's been awesome having him be, you know, like take the lead on calls and being able, you know, having him more involved on like the paperwork side of things. Obviously it makes it easier for me, but it also opens up the amount of time we have for stuff. So we can take on more consultations, we can take on more weddings and more engagement sessions because we have more time between the two of us to be able to capture everything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's great. I know thus far we've mainly talked about the business side of things and you learning photography from Manny, which is a very unique and really cool story. How that happened and how you guys work together as a team now. But let's talk a little bit about motherhood.
Yes.
How is it being a wife, mom, entrepreneur, and business owner?
Oh man, it is crazy. I think I'm very fortunate to be able to be in business with my husband, like with my partner, because there's a lot that if he was working a traditional job, there's a lot that I wouldn't be able to do, you know, like our business wouldn't be at the point where it is right now. And so having his support, I think is a massive, massive key to being able to do it. He, you know, so like we are able to split our work days. And so if, you know, sometimes it's a little uneven depending on who has more work to do. But typically we try to split it 2 and 2, and then we have a family day. So
that's awesome.
It doesn't give us a lot of time. So like for me, I have to work on speeding up my editing, and I have to work on speeding up my processes because you only have so many hours in the day. And it's a delicate balance between, you know, like not working and not having your mind on work when you have, you know, your family day, or when we have time set aside, you know, like when Manny's working and I'm with Riley. So it's a very delicate balance. And, you know, we frequently will sit down and we'll be like, hey, this isn't working, or this hasn't worked this week. We need to reassess and, you know, try and figure out a better way for this to work. And so I think communication is key to maintaining that balance. Yeah.
I hear you on that one. And I feel like that basically answered the next question too, about how you're creating balance in life. So basically communication is key, as you said.
And honestly, something that we've been doing a lot more, I'd say the past like 4 to 6 weeks, is we have been putting our physical and mental health first, and then making time for everything else. Because if we can't show up for ourselves physically and mentally, and we're not filling our own cups there, then we're not going to have anything to pour into our daughter. We're not going to have anything to pour into, you know, our relationship with each other or our business. And so I think that has been a really key in not necessarily doing the pretty self-care, like facials and masks and things like that, but doing like the nitty-gritty self-care, like working out and showing up for yourself and all those different things.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, mental health is very important, and even physical health, because if you don't have anything, you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of each other as a couple, and definitely not your children.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's something I'm still working on myself. It's definitely a balancing act.
It is. And I think it's something that we'll probably always have to work on, honestly.
Yeah.
Always. It's always going to be, balancing is a delicate act. Delicate act, especially when life starts to throw stuff your way.
Oh, yeah. When it always does.
Yeah. But it's possible. And I think that's where the communication comes in, because when things aren't working, if you can't talk about it, then nothing's ever going to change.
True.
That's
very true.
Yeah.
So I know you briefly mentioned that sometimes when things aren't working in the week, like you reassess what's going on, like what's not working and what is working. So with that being said, how do you make time for the more important things in life, and how do you make adjustments when that does happen?
We will typically, probably Sundays, we'll take a portion of Sunday and we will schedule everything out for the week. So we'll talk about, who has what work to do. We'll talk about, if we have appointments, if we need to go out, we kind of like figure out everything that's going on that week, and then we schedule it out. I think a big part of that is knowing how long it takes you to do something with work. So like if I have an engagement session, I know it's going to take me approximately 4 hours to dump the footage, cull the footage, edit everything, export it all, and upload it all. Sometimes it's more like 6 hours, it depends on the lighting. It depends on all those different things. And it also depends on if you're in a flow or not.
True.
But, we know approximately how much we need in order to accomplish what needs to be accomplished. So we do all that. And then if something comes up, we give ourselves grace, like if something comes up and we need to rearrange our schedule or we need to push something, we push things obviously that don't have a deadline, or maybe have a deadline that's farther out. And we just rework it. We have, our calendar is like crazy. It looks crazy. Sure. We have like separate colored calendars for everything. But the fact that we're all on, like, all of our devices are Apple is super helpful, because if we do one thing anywhere, it's automatically going to change it on everything.
Right.
So that's been key. And I think tying back to it, like we put the things in the calendar that are like non-negotiable first. So we know what needs to happen, we put those in, and then we fit everything else around those non-negotiables.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That makes sense. How are you a present mom? What are ways you make time for your daughter during the day?
Great question. Great question. I think when it comes to things, it's like I need to take care of myself first. So we wake up early. She usually wakes up around 7:30. We try to be out of bed by like 6 o'clock when we can. We're trying to do it a little bit earlier, but
that's early.
Some days, some weeks, we're very fortunate in that we took the time to sleep train her, and she does really, really well on a schedule. She does not do well off of a schedule. And that's kind of how we are. So having that time for myself and like that calm and that quiet in the morning helps me show up better for her throughout the day. Because then I'm not feeling like I'm just waking up when she wakes up and she immediately needs me, and then it's all day long where I don't get time to myself.
Right.
So I think that's a massive way, because that's how I do feel when we don't wake up early. And it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't had any time to do anything for myself today. So I feel behind the whole day. So I think that's a big one. And that comes back to, you have to pour into your own cup first before you can pour into hers. Another thing is including her in the things that I have to do around the house. Okay. So it takes more time, obviously, but if she can help me with laundry, if she can cook, you know, we try to cook with her a little bit so she can cook her own hot dogs, or she can, you know, like make the mac and cheese in the microwave, or, you know, like things like that, so that she feels included and it gives her some power as well. She's a very independent kid. And she's got very big feelings and a very strong personality. And so we try to support that whenever we can. But if we don't feel like we have the energy to support that, if we don't feel like if I don't feel like I've had that time to myself to where I can then give extra to her, then I feel like at that point, what she's getting kind of suffers a little bit.
Yeah, and then at that point, it's like leftovers of you.
Exactly, and I don't want to give her that.
Of course not. Yeah.
And she's, I mean, honestly, she's like my little buddy. We do everything together. So, you know, she goes out and runs errands with me. We go food shopping together. We do laundry together. We do stuff in the house. You know, all those different things. And, you know, we have a really, really good relationship with that, or with each other, in doing those things. So I think taking care of myself first is what allows me to show up fully for her and give more to her.
That's a lot of great gems you just dropped there. Make sure you're filling up your own cup, taking care of yourself before you can take care of your daughter. Like, I'm taking this all in. There's definitely things I can work on. Stuff that all parents can work on.
Me too.